Hello, quilting friends. It is Tuesday and I am at home. Very happy to be talking to you. I'm so sorry to have missed you last week, but not really, because I was on vacation. I don't announce vacations ahead of time. Sometimes when I'm not here, it's a medical appointment. Sometimes when I'm not here, I'm teaching. But this was a big, long vacation and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I missed you a little bit. So I haven't sewn at all since I talked to you because I've been on vacation. I did, I was in the car for 2,000 miles. So what I did get done was a lot of knitting. Hello, Patty. I got to drive by your part of the world because I went from New York to the Indiana Dunes, which is near Chicago. Drove through all of Ohio, all of Indiana. And our vacation started a little longer because the day we were, my grandson was baptized. So our plans changed a little bit. So we had to drive 2 hours east, spend the day to start our drive west. So anyway, 2,000 miles in the car. A lot has happened. But that was wonderful getting to see the grands. I got to see 4 of my grandkids. I'll spend Easter with another one. So life is just beautiful and perfect. So before I left for the trip, I finished this scarf. Let's see if I can show off its loveliness to you. It is a gradient, so it's darker. This is the beginning right here. So it's darker in the beginning, and then it gets lighter as it goes out. And this scarf is called Dotted Rays. It is by Stephen West. And that's kind of the equivalent in the quilting world of saying I made a Judy Niemeyer quilt. So he's known for really hard stuff. This is not super hard, but it's offset. So that was a lovely little scarf I got to wear. And it's cotton. I got the cotton at a shop in Lenox, Massachusetts that has since moved to Williamsburg, Virginia, and I don't even have the label. So this is cotton, but that's really all I know about it. But I really enjoy it. It's nice and light and bright, and I'll enjoy wearing it. The fun thing is I wore it a couple days on the vacation, and it ended up being a bib. So it's pretty good. I travel with spot and stain remover because I had to keep washing this. Just kind of a grown-up bib. And then while on my trip, I've got threads all over this. So put that one aside. Hello, Janet. I didn't get to drive by your part of the world, but I'm glad to see you. Thanks for being in my part of the world on the computer today. So I finished this one on my trip. I make a scarf called Hitchhiker. It's my favorite pattern. It's like if you like Yellow Brick Road or Turning 20, or you tend to make the same pattern over and over again. So there's a pattern that's weirdly shaped. So let me find the row in this. So this is the shape of it. This is the row going across this way. So it starts down here and it goes in a little bit, but out a lot until it ends like this. And this is like buds and bumbles or something, is the pattern. So it's a nice texture on it. And the yarn I got at Pick Up Every Stitch during the road to Rhinebeck. So Rhinebeck is near where I live, but it's like saying Houston in the quilt world. So I live near the Houston of the knitting world. And my friend's knitting shop, everyone flies into New York City, and then all the famous knitters, and then drive up to the knitting show. And she has a big event there. So she had a special yarn made from a dyer in Italy, something Glida Ochi, Oro Glida Ochi or something. But this is a variation on that Hitchhiker pattern. So if you liked Yellow Brick Road, no. If you like Turning 20, there was like Turning 22, Turning 23, and then there were books of different things to do with like the Turning 20 quilting pattern. I have a pattern book that has about 10 different patterns that work the same way, that start here and go out that way. This one has texture in it, and so this is a merino wool from Italy. It dyed in Italy. It's something named like the Eye of the Wolf is the name of the company, the hand dyer who dyes this, and she dyed this specifically, only available at my friend's store, and it was called Song of the Night. Canto Notturno. I don't speak Italian, but I know enough Latin. So Song of the Night or Music of the Night. So finished that, got to wear it a few times. Didn't get it dirty. And then on the way home, I got to start just a true hitchhiker. This is the original hitchhiker pattern. So this is a cotton gradient. So it comes all the way down here at dark. And here is the yarn. So I'm starting from the center, and it will end up as brown. And it's like 4 strands, and then it goes from like pink to light pink. So 3 dark pink, 1 light pink, then 2 dark pink, 2 light pink together, then 1 light pink, 3 dark pink, and then all dark pink. So it's a real subtle gradient. So you can see it has a little bit of a stripe in there. So this is the true hitchhiker pattern, the first one that the woman, Martina Bem, she wrote maybe 10 different patterns based on this shape. And this one has the little pointies at the side. So I make a bunch of these, and I buy this yarn, the sheep's whirl, and this is a woolly whirl. That I just make these to give away through my church knitting group. So this is just some kind of fun, pass the time knitting, works great in the car. So that was my view of a lot of miles. Put that away. Then when I came home last night, I hadn't set up any sewing. So I got back out my Charlie sweater. And this is the same hand dyer. That was a fingering weight yarn from that hand dyed yarn. And this is a worsted weight yarn, and then a mohair silk, I believe. So I'm working on this sweater. So I think it goes this way. So that's the front. This is the back. And then I'll pick it up and join it together with the underarms. So a lot of knitting right now. I haven't given up on quilting, but quilting doesn't travel in the car while I'm driving, as well as knitting. I mean, while I'm passengering, as well as knitting does, because I get car sick and I can't do hand sewing. But I did take some hand sewing with me. Ooh, I have more on the floor. I'm gonna have to get up. I didn't bring everything to the table. So one of the quilts I am working on is it's Betsy from Primitive Gatherings. So this is for the 250th Sesqua, whatever. Can't say the word. But this is all hand done. And I'm not making it as big as she is. She being Lisa Bonjean from Primitive Gatherings. And my goal is to make one a day. So I prepped these, and that was from March 16th. And I'm even a little ahead. I've already done today's block, March 31st. Hers is red, white, and blue, the original one. And mine is just all bright colors. So I've got some purples and reds and pinks and oranges and green. I think I have some nice blue in here too. So I have been working on that. And it's done. Let me find one that's undone. So this is tomorrow's. Nope. Ugh, threads everywhere. So she has you take a pattern, it's a template, and cut your fabric out, which I have done. And then she has you starch it. I use like the vodka water starch. around paper pieces and then applique it on without the paper inside of it. So that I have a couple of these left, and whenever I watch her live videos on Thursday, that's when I prep the next week's worth. So I have worked on that one. But I haven't touched a sewing machine because I was on vacation. I am going to have to stand up because I didn't pick up everything. I'm still here. Okay. I'm back. So still opening mail and stuff like that from getting back Sunday night and getting the mail yesterday. So I love everything Primitive Gatherings. You might know that. Adore Primitive Gatherings. And I've been in their cotton box. So every other month. So February, April, etc. I get a box that has like a part of a year-long project and then other stuff in it to make quilts out of. But she also has a box that's wool applique. And I have worked for years to avoid falling into the wool applique box and habit and hobby because I don't need another hobby. And yet I now have another hobby because I now am in the wool box and they're in the middle of a 2-year pattern. So I'll just have half of it. So I have this is 1 month's block. And there's another month's block. So those I'll be working on. There's the wool inside of it. What else do I have here? This is a kit for red, white, and bloom mat and pincushion. Here's the pattern for that and all the fabric. And what else do I have in here? Some pennies in bloom is another mat. So this was my January because I had to go back and buy January's to get March's. So this is January's long, it's a table runner. And then this is the reason I bought it is because of this quilt. So they pre-cut all of these pennies that we get to sew together, hexie flowers. And then here's more of the flowers for March. So with all the time I spend at my sister's when she's out of town and I'm there to care for mom, I have a feeling I'll get a lot of my wool work done that way. So that's what I also bought fabric at a fabric store, at a quilt store in Essen House, which is in Indiana Amish country. It's called The Quilt Shop at Essen House, but that's in another suitcase. It might have cats on it. So that's what's new, what I finished, what I started, and what's new. Lisa Bonjean from Primitive Gatherings, also puts little treats in there like these gourmet caramels that are made near the store in Wisconsin and different embroidery threads. So yeah, I've got a lot to do. But what I really have to do is I work for my church and Easter is on Sunday, which means I'm really busy because, it's like our Super Bowl. So doing a lot of church work. I do a lot of computer work, scheduling, stuff like that for them. And also next week, like 3 days after Easter, I'm teaching at the New England Quilt Expo. So I'm gathering all the handouts and supplies and all of that. So if you are interested in coming to the New England Quilt Expo it starts a week from tomorrow. I'm going to be teaching 7 hands-on classes. Bring your own machine. Home machine classes. I'm going to be teaching free motion quilting, different techniques of free motion quilting, a thread class, a feather class, a walking foot class, a design class, a free motion kind of collage class, the beginnerest of beginner classes, I'm trying to see what all the classes are in my head. So anyway, I'll put a link up to this show. NEQE, New England Quilt Expo 2026. It's in Manchester, New Hampshire. I think it's at the Exposition Center attached to the Doubletree Hotel. I'm going to put a link up here in the comments. Hopefully that showed up. So if you go to bnpquilts.com, bits and pieces quilts.com, and then click on the New England Quilt Expo, you'll find all the classes. So there's a show there. There's a lot of classes, some make and take type stuff, long arm classes. I'm teaching home machine classes. And it's just really good people. And it's a really nice venue. I used to teach at the Machine Quilters Expo in Manchester, New Hampshire. It's in that same venue. Although Machine Quilters Expo was in Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island for a while. So let me go back and see the comments. Janet, you wish you could do it. Knit. You never could. I learned how to knit before I learned how to sew. I learned how to crochet, then knit, then sew. And then the last thing I learned was quilting, and that was as a teenager. So hello, Dina. I'm glad you're here. And Dee from South Dakota. Oh, you're one of the few states I have not been to. So if you have an in-person teaching job for me out there, I'm your girl. But otherwise, hello, I'm glad you're here. You love that one. And Donald, hello, Donald, listening to me while you're working. I was on vacation last week, so you got to take the #1 commenter spot on Tracy Mooney from So Supportive, her live video on Thursday. I still have to go back and watch it, but I'll be back this week. So I might be the top commenter. I'll fight you for it. So Donald, greeting everyone in the room. Thank you. And Joan, hello, definitely drove by you because you're not that far from me. And let's see the comments. I don't know how to do anything with yarn. I saw a really cute yarn. Sorry, my hair is in my mouth. I saw a really cute yarn video where someone said they just took a skein of yarn and put their foot in the skein of yarn. They're like, look, slippers. But no, I know how to do all the things. I am an above medium knitter, but I'm not an expert knitter. My daughter and her wife are really hardcore knitters. And then my friend owns like a deluxe knitting store outside of New York City. And she's a knitwear designer. She designed this pattern. And so I'm surrounded in my personal life by knitting experts, which whenever stuff comes up hard, I'm like, who's awake at this time of day that I can text? My daughter, my daughter-in-law, my friend. So it's really nice having some experts around me. Let's see, Carol in New Jersey, uncovering your hellebore, which are in full bloom. I didn't even look to see if my tulips are up yet. I'm sorry, my dandelions. No, daffodils. See, I don't speak flower. The only thing that's in bloom in here is the stupid ladybugs. We have those Asian lady beetle invasions. So that's the only thing I'm blooming here. Let's see. It's a good quilt for using up scraps. Yes, that little one is definitely a good quilt for using up scraps. And then I also have another little quilt that I haven't sewn on that I'm working on from Primitive Gathering. It's called Echoes of the Past. And that's also in red, white, and blue, but it's little pieced stars. And I made mine in blacks and browns because I had a lot of scraps. This one is all bright colors because I have a lot of scraps. And that's how I'm making mine. And so far, I've cut all the background fabric from it from scraps for both quilts as well. Hello. So let's see. That's what I've been making. So what did I do on vacation? Let's see. I went, like I said, we started out Sunday at a baptism in Connecticut, which is in the wrong direction if you're driving to Indiana. So we just added we started 10 hours late and added 200 miles to the drive. But we drove in buckets and buckets and buckets of rain and stopped in Western PA up on Interstate 80. And then the next day we made it into Amish country in Indiana. As a Pennsylvanian, I know Amish country like Lancaster because I'm originally from Pennsylvania. But we were in Shipshewana, and I had to warn my husband it was a quilt town, but we went to like the Amish restaurant, and I can't do a lot of walking around the cute quilt places, but we did a little bit there and went to Essen House and went to the movies once we got to where we were staying. And then what did we do the first day? Our first full day on trip after 2 days of driving, we went to the Studebaker Museum. I know absolutely nothing about Studebakers. I'm not a car person, but wow, they were pretty. I didn't realize, like, Studebakers to me, because I was born in 69. So the car company went out of business like in 64 or stopped producing cars in 64. So we've never crossed paths. So in my mind, Howard Cunningham, Richie Cunningham's dad from Happy Days, would have driven a Studebaker. So I'm picturing just the roundish family car. Or I'm picturing Al Capone getting out of a black car with his Tommy gun in Chicago. That's in my mind what a Studebaker is. What I didn't realize is they were really designed forward and some really pretty cars with a lot of interesting angles and features and details to them. So it was a really fun museum trip, believe it or not. I loved calling my mom that day, and she said, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "I went to a car museum." She was like, "Oh, okay." It was lovely. It was really fun, and I found, like, 2 gorgeous purple cars, and there was, like, this white one of the most beautiful cars there was sadly, it was a child's ambulance from the 30s, I think, but it was just beautiful and beautifully painted and, um, um, stained glass windows in it. It was just a really pretty museum. We also went, what else was there at this? Oh, what we learned while we were there is that they actually started out as a horse and buggy factory. So Studebaker designed wagons, um, and all of that, and then translated that into cars later on. Which anyway, interesting. Let's see. You're busy or busy workday. I understand. Did I mention I'm getting ready for a quilt show and it's my Super Bowl being working at my church for Easter? Yeah, I just spent a couple hours. I had to set an alarm to remember to come talk to you. That's why I didn't have everything quite prepped here and why I'm not in my office. I just came home from my trip, put my computer on the kitchen table, and this is where I've been for 2 days. Let's see. Any shoe fly pie in Amish country? Well, here's the thing. I've been in Ohio Amish country. Last year, I took my in-laws on a trip to Ohio Amish country near Canton, Ohio. This year, I was in Indiana Amish country, and in neither place did they have shoe fly pie. So I don't know if that's a Pennsylvania Amish country thing, or I just happened to have hit the 2 restaurants in other states that didn't have shoe fly pie. But if they had had shoe fly pie, I'd have bought it. What I did buy at the Amish place, my mom, I have an 87-year-old mom, and she loves pepper jam. So I bought her pepper jelly, like strawberry red pepper jam, rhubarb, raspberry, jalapeno. I bought her anything there that said pepper jam, pepper jelly. So came with this big bag full of individually wrapped big jelly jars. So I'm sure mom will have those gone in no time flat. I can't imagine eating it, but it's something my mom really likes. So wherever I travel, like when I was at Ohio Amish country, picked up all the pepper jams, did the same thing here. So yeah, I don't know much about the difference in Amish countries. Being from Pennsylvania, I just assumed, Lancaster was the real place, but apparently no. I filmed for Annie's Attic. It used to be Annie's Creative Studio and Annie's Catalog. I think it's now called Annie's Attic. They're in Bern, Indiana. And that is a town that is, I think where did I fly into? Fort Wayne. I flew into Fort Wayne to go film there. And I filmed 2 classes for them, one on using rulers on a home machine and one doing negative space. But the town of Bern, Indiana, from what I understand, is 90% Amish and 10% English. So I know that there's Amish country there. I've been there, but this time I just drove in. So we did that. The next day we went to the Indiana Dunes National Park. One fun fact is when you're disabled, you can go to all the national parks for free. The downside of that is you can't really do anything because it's all walking. But I walked a little bit at the Indiana Dunes. We did some drive-by stuff. My husband did some more walking. We downloaded one of the audio tours and drove through and got the stories and all the stuff. So we did that one day. I have a knitting book called Knitting the National Parks. So I do have yarn coming that has to make a hat that represents the Indiana Dunes. So I look forward to making that. Hopefully the yarn, I couldn't find it in the yarn store there, like all the colors that I needed. So I did have to order it. And I hope it comes before Easter because I need my daughters to help me with. My daughter and her wife, I want them to help me with it because it's color work and it's not something I'm really good at. And what do we do after that? Thursday, we went to the Indiana Dinosaur Museum and Chocolate Tour. So apparently there was this guy who started a chocolate factory called the South Bend Chocolate Company or Factory. It was delicious. And then he also was into like an amateur dinosaur digger. So he was digging up dinosaur parts and he built a dinosaur museum attached to the chocolate factory. So we toured both and that was lovely. That was just quite nice. And then they also have goats there that they jokingly say they feed to the dinosaurs, but they don't really have dinosaurs. They just have the bones. But it was really interesting. I got to have some fun there. Their property that it's on is on the Continental Divide. Now, I've heard that term before, and I even saw the movie. I think John Belushi starred in it or something back in the 80s. But my husband had to push me up in my wheelchair, push me up the hill to the Continental Divide. When we hit gravel, I did walk because took pity on the poor guy. He's pushing me up a paved hill. I'm like, come on, honey, put your back into it because I'm kind of a big girl. But a Continental Divide is when it rains. On the rain on this side goes to the Pacific, and the rain on this side runs off and goes to the Atlantic. And that's the Continental Divide. So things I learned. And then we drove home. We started to drive home, and we stopped at a rest stop in Indiana. With the heart medication I'm on, I have to go to the bathroom all the time because of the fluid. And one of the rest stops was the Gene Stratton Porter rest stop. And on the glass front of it, they had words painted on it, and it was like her Wikipedia entry. And she wrote The Girl of the Limberlost. And as my husband's backing out, I'm reading the words and I'm like, Girl of the Limberlost, I've heard of that. So I grab my phone and I start Googling and seeing what's up. So Girl of the Limberlost was one of the best-selling books of its time from 1909, but it was the second book in the series. So the Limberlost is a swamp in northern Indiana. And the first book is called Freckles, a guy named Freckles. And it was written in 1905, the same year as The Little Princess, which is my favorite book. And if you know The Little Princess, you know that everything gets really hard for these people. And then magically, somebody comes back and makes your life just perfect. So no spoilers, but the book was written 120 years ago. So if you don't know what happened by now, you deserve to have it spoiled. I did too. But anyway, we listened to that on the way home, this Freckles, book one of the Limberlost series. And I will be downloading book two, Girl of the Limberlost, shortly. So that was just the weirdest way to find a book to read, was by stopping at a rest stop named after the author randomly in Indiana on the Indiana Toll Road. Has anyone read that book, The Girl of the Limberlost? It's very, very into all of the cool things that happen in nature. But it also had that, poor little orphaned waif. And then, oh my word, he's from a good family who's looking for him all of these years. So on Monday morning, my husband and I were both back at work the first day. We're like, stressed out. But so I texted him. So if you don't know, I'm adopted. So all of these kids are parentless in all of these books. So I said, I'm sorry that my rich lord uncle from Ireland has never tried to find me and dump a load of cash on me. You deserve better, my husband. Now, in this book, there was a character who only had one hand. So my husband's comment will make sense, would say it would be tougher to knit with one hand. So I guess we're okay that nobody's come back to dump a load of cash on me. But I really, really love books from 1900 to 1910. That was a really interesting era. I can't believe I hadn't read the Limberlost books before. So anyway, randomly weird stuff. We have my husband and I are both from Pittsburgh. So we drove to Pittsburgh on the way home. And we have 3 parents in their 80s, and all of them are ailing in separate ways. So it was dealing with a lot of that, visiting and seeing everybody, and spent some time in the emergency room and making pharmacy trips and getting someone else set up. But it was just nice to be able to check in on all the family and to be able to sit with my sister a bit. My husband, so we were with my husband's 2 parents, and my father's passed. So it's just my mom. And then my sister and I spent some time with mom as well. So that was my trip. Not a lot of quilting, a lot of driving, a lot of knitting, some books, a lot of playlists from Apple Music. Went through the car, digging deep. Did some deep cuts from Queen and things like that. So anyway, vacations are cool like that. Now that I'm home, though, I'm getting stuff prepped, like I said, for the New England Quilt Expo. I think it's this New England Quilt Expo has been going on for many years, like at least since before the pandemic, because I taught there before the pandemic. And I think this year, AQS put in a show in Hartford the same weekend. Now, Hartford and Manchester, New Hampshire aren't next to each other, but they're only 2.5 hours apart. So if you want to come to one quilt show or 2, come to New England. It's a really, I just drove all the roads. They're fine. Check out the roads. And I'd love to see you there. I hope to be getting some quilting done this week. I try to get some stuff prepped because in the middle of, Easter show prep, I have another round of, I have chemotherapy infusions for my autoimmune disease, and they come with a lot of steroids. So I try to have something prepped that while I'm recovering for the first 2 days, I can just sit there and quilt, because it's not like I'm going to be sleeping. But I also feel really cruddy. So I think I will try to get a quilt basted up that I can just sit there and quilt to, and not have to think too much about it. If I had more time, I'd prep a lot of these little pennies for stitching, but I don't think I have time to do that this week. So that is what I have going on. Maybe I will even get that house quilt, the Villages quilt that I did with Tracy Mooney, had a sew along using the Villages quilt pattern. And so maybe I will get that basted up and start quilting that. We'll see what I can get done. I'm just on I cannot breathe for the next 2 weeks time crunch, because, vacation and time of year, when they collide, it's awesome. But I hope you're doing well. I hope you've had maybe some time with family. I haven't checked to see when Passover is, so I apologize. So I'm not sure if we're in the middle of Passover or not. I'm sorry, confession. I don't really know what day today is, other than that it's my son's birthday. But if you're celebrating Easter, happy Easter. I hope you have a renewing experience. If you are toward Passover, again, I apologize. I have zero idea of when it is right now. Happy Passover. Celebrate with your family. And take some time to enjoy the change of the seasons, especially if you don't have these ladybugs everywhere in your house. So that's pretty much what I have for you this week. But next week, I'm not sure if I'll be here. It depends on what time I leave to go to the show in New Hampshire, because I have to go up on Tuesday. So I might leave after this. I might leave before it. So I'm not Not going to commit to whether I'll be here or not because I have someone traveling with me and we'll see what their travel schedule's like. But stay in touch. Look for a newsletter. I haven't sent one out, but I have one ready to go. And expect that one, and we'll be in touch. So it was nice visiting with you after 2 weeks. I hope to see you again next week. We'll just see how the travel works out. So take care of yourselves. Patty, thank you so much, Patty. If I were more subtle about it, I'd have Googled it. So enjoy the Passover celebration. May it be meaningful and renew your faith. So have a celebrating time of year. Enjoy the change of the seasons for us in the northern hemisphere as we're coming out of winter that beat us up badly this year, and we all need a spring. Enjoy that. And for those who are in the southern hemisphere, sorry, it's coming to an end. You're going into the winter, but which is a good time to quilt. So embrace all the things that life is bringing you. Until I talk to you again, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and happy quilting.